Here we go, a brand new edition of Sports Medicine Weekly on this Saturday morning. Hi, everyone. I'm Steve Cashel, joined by my usual co-host, Dr. Brian Cole. He is the head team physician for the Chicago Bulls, one of the team physicians for the Chicago White Sox, a sports medicine specialist, orthopedic surgeon, and Midwest Orthopedics at Rush. Our producer is Shane Reardon. Our coordinating producer is Tracy Toro. Our website is sportsmedicineweekly.com. How are you, Doc Cole?
I'm doing great this morning, Steve.
Did you watch Super Bowl?
I did.
Yeah, great stuff. Huh? Everyone's expecting a close game, and pretty much that's what we got.
Yeah, I think they delivered.
Yeah, they did. They
total
did.
Entertainment value.
Well, let's talk about Patrick Mahomes, okay? Chiefs quarterback, Super Bowl most valuable player. Everyone here in Chicago wishing he was a member of the Chicago Bears wearing number 15. But this is interesting, Doc, because maybe people forget that back in Week 7, Patrick Mahomes suffered a dislocated kneecap. It was a patella dislocation. Initially thought the worst is what Mahomes was thinking. In reality, there was minimal damage to the cartilage and ligaments. But let's talk a little bit about that. Explain what a patella dislocation is, and are you surprised he came back after just a couple of week layoff?
Well, I will say this. There's something clearly unique about the NFL that you don't see in other sports. You get a little bit of in hockey, I would say, but the fact that you get, games week by week and you're not dealing with several games over a week does provide the opportunity to get well from something that can be particularly damaging and lead to missed time and really critical time. That being said, the fact that he returned in this fashion with that short a timeline is monumental in any sport. So a kneecap dislocation almost always involves tearing a ligament along the inner side of the knee called the medial patellofemoral ligament. It's basically a check rein so the kneecap can't move out of position. And it can happen through a traumatic injury where someone hits the knee very hard or through a plant and a twist. And it almost always will tear that ligament. So there's pain and swelling from the ligament tear. Often it can damage an area of cartilage. And just the impairment that comes from the event can be significant. So to come back in 2-3 weeks' time is not impossible, obviously, but it is rare or unusual. And I think it's about getting on top of it quickly, being involved in that's the unique aspect of being in professional or high-level, say, college sports, is that you're embedded in a system that can address things very quickly, get it initially immobilized, ice, get the swelling down, and get them in proper prehab. And this is the kind of outcome that you can get if you're treated in this fashion.
So I'm reading a key element, didn't move after the dislocation, reduced immediately. So my question to you is, why is quick reduction so important?
Well, in it, like any joint dislocation, it's the longer it's out, the more the ligaments are under tension and so forth, and the more damage, in theory, can happen to the ligaments and also other secondary structures. So if the kneecap is sitting off to the side and the kneecap of the patella is rubbing into the femur, that in and of itself can lead to cartilage damage. Or if it's sitting in a stretched position, the ligament that normally is meant to keep it in place, in theory, undergoes more damage or more attenuation or stretch. So just getting it back into position quickly can minimize the amount of trauma that the joint is seeing overall.
So what is the recurrence rate for a patella instability?
Well, it's a great question, and it depends upon a lot of variables. So it's impossible to generalize. I will say this. The vast majority of all kneecap dislocations in sports happen again, unfortunately. That being said, if it's a traumatic injury and it's not a plant and a twist, and the individual doesn't have a lot of the secondary anatomic features, which involves a long patella tendon or a shallow groove that the kneecap tracks in, or some malalignment issues or some rotational issues. There's a bunch of anatomic parameters that can lead to dislocation. I would say more likely than not, this is a situation given his age and the fact that he's been an athlete for as long as he has been, that he, if I had to guess, he probably lacks a lot of those predisposing factors that can lead to recurrence. And in that setting, the recurrence rate can be, relatively low. But the things that come in our office, unfortunately, these are people who get back to sport, and I would say at least half end up redislocating. But the devil's in the details. So I would be hesitant to say that Mahomes has a better than 50% chance. There's no way to predict because he basically has other factors that may prevent it from ever coming out again.